Tennis sensation Alex Eala returned to the WTA 1000 stage at the Madrid Open on Tuesday, and she picked up right where she left off from Miami, earning a comprehensive straight sets win. This now sets up a mouth-watering second round match between Alex and Iga, but the question is, can Eala defeat the world number 2 again, this time on the poll's favorite surface? Also, we could have had another mouth-watering second round clash between Madison Keys and Naomi Osaka, but Osaka suffered a very disappointing opening round loss. I'll share some of my brutally honest takes on her and preview the men's draw too. Hey, I'm Christian Bass-Knight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you've not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Madrid Open updates throughout this fortnight. Eala, she defeated the world number 64 Victoria Tomova 6-3, 6-2, and Tomova, she isn't a player with a whole lot of weapons, so Alex was definitely in more control of a lot of the points. She maintained great depth, and she also took the ball early and wasn't afraid to venture forward despite it being clay and that being more of a challenge. The Madrid conditions, I think, suit Eala's game pretty well. This is probably going to be her best performing clay tournament because of the higher altitude. The ball moves through the court a little bit more, and that aids Alex's flatter ground strokes. Eala also continued to relentlessly attack her opponent's serve, especially that second serve, relentlessly, which paid off well. And Alex, she's also a good defensive player and a great mover, and I feel like combining those two things with this now being on clay, she'll frustrate a lot more opponents with how many balls she gets back in play. I thought that Eala did well to elevate her level in the second set, and she truly took it to Tomova. And that point that Alex played to break 4-4-1 was something special. I suggest y'all go back and watch that. Now, looking forward to this Eala-Swiatek match. Alex, of course, won their last meeting at the Miami Open quarterfinal last month by a score of 6-2, 7-5. Iga did not hold her serve in this match until a few games into the second set, which is insane, and that just goes to show how much of a poor service day it was for Swiatek. But Eala, she made life difficult for Iga with how she just was relentlessly attacking the Swiatek serve, both the first and second serve, really. On clay now, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that. Also, because the kick serves, they just bounce higher out of player strike zones, and Iga does have a good kick serve. Also, the ball just travels through the court a little bit slower on clay, and Iga, I think, will be better able to defend some of those Eala big returns. I think this match will be decided ultimately by which woman protects their serve better. Iga definitely needs to serve better than she did in Miami because Eala ate her serve alive. And Alex, she actually was broken quite a few times, even though this was a straight sets win. Iga did get her lick in a few times in breaking her, especially in that second set. But that's another aspect for Eala to be cognizant of, making sure that she holds her own on her serve. Really, I think that Eala's return will be a bigger asset for her own self rather than that serve still. Swiatek's serve is considerably better than Alex's, and it just works on clay more because, again, Iga's kick serve is very solid. I think that Alex's serve will be a little bit more attackable for Iga on the clay than a faster hard court like a Miami where the ball might skid and stay a little bit lower. Alex also had general success from hitting hard flat ground strokes and rushing Iga during the rallies, and she truly broke down that Swiatek forehand. Another reason why Iga does particularly well on clay is that it's harder to really rush her on this surface, and she just has more time on that wing. Now, before we could confidently say, oh, there's no way Iga is going to let Alex beat her twice in a row, especially on clay, especially because Eala, she did lose to Pana Udvardi, who was ranked 137 and at 125 a week ago in Portugal. But Iga is not that same boss lady Iga from years prior. She's definitely a little bit more vulnerable, and Andreeva beat her twice in a row, so why not Eala? Obviously, Andreeva still is a better player than Alex, but the point being is that Iga still is definitely beatable twice in a row. Also, Iga did not look that sharp in Stuttgart, being totally honest, and I think for sure Alex has at least a fighting chance. Now, still, it's going to be hard for me to bet against Iga on the clay for reasons I already mentioned earlier. I think it's going to be harder for Eala to consistently attack Swiatek's serve, the second serve too, and I anticipate Iga just being able to handle Alex's serve a lot better than she did in Miami. I think that she'll also just have a better serving day than she did in the 305 because the bar really wasn't held. And then overall, I think that Iga should just have a better idea of what to expect from Eala, and I think that she'll have a well-rounded game plan to attack the 19-year-old. I see this one being a relatively tough straight sets win for Swiatek, like a 7-5, 6-4 type of thing. On the topic of multi-Grand Slam champions, 4-time major champion Naomi Osaka suffered an opening round loss to world number 59 Lucia Bronzetti by a score of 6-4, 2-6, 6-4. Osaka had a 2-0 head-to-head against Lucia coming into this match, and both of their matches were played last year. They last met in Beijing in the opening round, I believe, which Osaka won 6-3, 6-2. They also met in the Roland Garros opening round, where Osaka, she had to work hard for the win, taking it with a scoreline of 6-1, 4-6, 7-5. Talking about this match today against the Italian with Osaka, the serve just wasn't that great from Naomi. It wasn't horrible. It was kind of mid, to be honest. She got broken 4 times, you know, it was just so-so for her. But again, like with the Osorio Indian Wells loss, the return was really the biggest culprit for her. The return was not good at all. Bronzetti does not have a big serve, but she was getting quite a few easy points from just basic Osaka return misses that she should make in her sleep. It was quite baffling to watch and witness Osaka miss all these returns. When you combine that with Naomi just being overall very error-prone, and you get a disastrous performance like we saw today. Naomi, she did well to take the second set, and she recovered from an early break deficit in the decider to level things at 3-all. But then she gifted the break right back with a poor service game where she served 2 double faults in a row. This is honestly just a bad loss from Osaka. I think it's definitely on par with that Osorio Indian Wells loss, maybe even worse. I'm just weirded out and confused with Patrick because, like, what did y'all do during that training block? Naomi didn't play in the tournaments. She just opted to play and train at Patrick's Academy in France. But I just wasn't impressed at all. I expected to see some edgy new Naomi plays, but her lateral movement on the surface is still poor. It's regressed, if anything, from last year. And like Maria Sharapova would say, Naomi looked like a cow on ice out there. And Naomi's fall on match point just fully exemplifies what I said, unfortunately. Just a sad way for her to go out. The forward movement from Osaka is not terrible. I think that she definitely has gotten fitter. But Bronzetti, she was testing her with those drop shots. I tweeted earlier that Lucia was drop shotting Naomi like it was Venus over there on the other side of the net. Bronzetti hit like 30 drop shots, but Naomi's execution in response to these droppers sometimes, really oftentimes, wasn't the best. And again, I just think that Naomi looked much better on the clay when she had Wim as her coach last year, which is quite shocking because Patrick's stomping grounds is the clay, and he helped Serena win Roland Garros again a couple more times. There's really no reason why Naomi shouldn't be more successful on the dirt, especially when you have other big hitters like Aryna Sabalenka, Madison Keys, Elena Rybakina, and of course Elena Ostapenko do just fine and excel on the dirt. Today, Naomi looked like she was just thinking too hard and was trying to play a game that wasn't really hers, and she looked very lost. And I think one shot in particular, that forehand cross court, was a big weapon for her, and she did not use it hardly enough at all in this match. I said this earlier too, but Naomi needs to take some notes from Aryna Sabalenka, take a page out of her book and take some of her nachos, because Aryna, she does really well on the clay, and she's also a bigger hitter like Naomi. She can still hit hard, but Sabalenka hits with more margin on her shots, and she could also stand to incorporate more angles. Sabalenka does a great job at that, and Naomi, at the peak of her powers, she hit the best angles on the tour, and we're not seeing that really at all. I'm just really baffled as to what's going on there. Also, if we're talking about taking some of Sabalenka's nachos, I think Osaka could stand to just definitely improve that return of serve, also improve her overall depth of shot, and just incorporate more variety. It'll be a little bit of an uphill battle at this point, but why not? Sabalenka did it. Why not incorporate some drop shots too? I think definitely Naomi probably should have played a lead-up tournament before Madrid, because she's only slated to play Madrid and Rome before Roland Garros, and that's not enough. She's not a top player right now to where she can afford to only play those 2 tournaments. Even the top players are playing 3 tournaments. Like pretty much all the top 4 players, they all played Stuttgart, Rome, and Madrid. Pegula played Charleston, Stuttgart, and he's also playing to play Madrid and Rome ahead of Roland Garros. So there's really no excuse. I guess playing devil's advocate, possibly Naomi wanted to kind of protect her ab, as that has been a little bit of an issue. She is low-key kind of injury prone, and also I just think that Osaka probably just wanted to have a good training block. But like I said, the training block really didn't pay off because I wasn't noticing that many good positive changes in Osaka's game in relation to the clay. And people said, oh, Osaka would have faced a player like Bronzetti even if she played at 250. The point is she just needs matches. That's it. And as she needs to get more comfortable playing these match situations on clay and just figuring out how she actually wants to play on this surface. I don't think she would lose this match if she had played in Stuttgart or Rouen. That's just my opinion on it. I really think Naomi needs to take a wild card into like a 125. There is a 125 in Catalonia starting next week. And also maybe she needs to look into taking a wild card into Strasbourg or Rabat or maybe even the Parma 125 a week after Rome, because this ain't it. Naomi, she's going to need a good draw at Rome if she wants solid reps. She made the 4th round there last year, so she might enjoy the conditions. She might go on a good run, but I find it hard to see her going past the quarterfinals or making it to the quarterfinals. Now, above all, though, I'm just most concerned with Naomi's psyche, her mental state. As she did make a threats post, as she normally does after she loses, she posted, "I wouldn't wish what goes on in my brain to my worst enemy." And I've mentioned this time and time again. I just can't help but wonder how Osaka is able to keep dealing with these setbacks in this comeback, because this is not the comeback I'm sure that she imagined. I'm pretty sure she imagined herself winning a title by now, maybe winning a slam by now, and she's around the 50s in the world. So again, I'm wondering how much longer Naomi will have before she's like, I'm done. I gave it my best shot. It's not there for me anymore. Question for y'all in the comments. Do you think Naomi just needs a little bit more time and she might have one solid result on clay this year? And when I say solid result, I'll say she'll make the 4th round or better at Rome or Roland Garros, or maybe go deep in a smaller tournament if she decides to take a wild card? Or do you see these struggles continuing? Also, I have been working on that Naomi Osaka deep dive, I guess the hard truth about Naomi Osaka. Hopefully I'll have that out before Rome starts, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, moving on, talking about some more positive news with another Haitian player, Hailey Baptiste. She earned a very good 6-2, 5-7, 7-6 win over Sorana Cîrstea, and this is her first WTA 1000 clay win. Cîrstea's ranking has dipped for sure, but she's still a very tough out, and this was a great effort mentally too from Baptiste, who led the Romanian 6-2, 5-4 and was 2 points away from winning in straight sets, but then she dropped the second set. Hailey also held an early break lead in the deciding set, lost it, then went down a break herself before winning the third set in a tiebreaker. Hailey has been slowly rising. I've been talking a little bit more about how people need to be paying attention to her because she has a lot more talent, and her improvement, I notice, has been very rapid in terms of her game. She is 85 in the live rankings, and I can definitely see her crack the top 50 by the end of 2025. Up next for Baptiste is 19th seed Donna Vekic. Prakash asked Baptiste actually on the TC desk how she'll prep for playing such a big hitter like Vekic, and Hailey basically said, I don't think she is bigger than me, so I'm going to play my game. I love that confidence. Now, during this Baptiste Cîrstea match, there was an interesting moment in the commentary booth from Coco Vandeweghe. Coco, she was talking with Jason Goodall for some reason about German player Laura Siegemund, and Vandeweghe, she made an out-of-pocket comment saying that she wanted to peg the German in the stomach one time when she was still on tour.
Laura Siegemund. And she's one of those interesting cats.
She is,
I will say.
I like her. She's feisty, but she's definitely cut from a different cloth.
I always wanted to take a ball straight to the stomach on her. So, yeah, she's feisty.
This is just so unhinged from Vandeweghe, but I expect nothing less. And by the way, Laura Siegemund, if y'all don't know, she infamously had that time violation drama with Coco Gauff at the 2023 U.S. Open. Coco Vandeweghe is she's so edgy. Honestly, she has grown on me. I've just come to appreciate her for what she is just being an out there commentator, just not taking her too seriously, to be honest. And she was eating a burrito while commentating the match on air, and she was talking all types of mess, saying that she's surprised Wim Fizette is still having to see Iga's box. So if you're here for that, I strongly suggest you tune into these matches on Tennis Channel whenever she is commentating. Now, speaking of Coco Gauff. Gauff actually has some interesting news in that she's ending her doubles hiatus and will be playing doubles in Madrid alongside fellow young American Robin Montgomery. This is going to be Gauff's first women's doubles appearance of the year, her first women's doubles tournament since the Olympics, where she partnered with Jessica Pegula. Gauff has had a great doubles career. She's a former world number one. She's a slam champion in doubles. She won the 2024 Roland Garros women's doubles title alongside Katerina Siniakova, and she also made a couple of finals alongside another American, Katie McNally. Robin, meanwhile, she won the U.S. Open girls singles and doubles title back in 2021, and overall, it's just very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing this pairing shape out. I'm hoping to see them together possibly long-term too. If not them, then Robin and Claire-Vie Gounoue. Now, Gauff Gummery, as I'm calling them, have a tough opener in fourth seeds, Caroline Dolehide and Desiree Kravchik. This women's draw also has the interesting pairing of Maria Sakkari and Madison Keys, and then Diana Schneider and Mira Andreeva are playing too. They won their Miami Open. They're competing here as the fifth seeds. Now, moving on and talking about the men a little bit and previewing the men's draw, showing the men some love. First, starting out really quickly with Alexander Zverev's section, the two-time champion is high on confidence from winning the Munich title, his first title of the season. Although he will not be that happy about his draw, I feel, because it's pretty tough. You have some good threats here in Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, Francisco Cerundolo, and Arthur Fils. Both Cerundolo and Fils beat Zverev this season too. I have a feeling that either Cerundolo or Fils will make it through. It's just that feeling for me. If not them, then even Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, I'd place him over Zverev. I just don't see it for Alex here. If I were to choose between Cerundolo and Fils, I'd give the slight edge to Arthur, so I'm going to have him make his fourth consecutive 1,000 quarterfinal. Next, Andrei Rublev. He is the defending champion, and he has a possible second-round meeting with Gael Monfils. Those two played in Monte Carlo, which Andrei took in straight sets, two tight straight sets. Alexei Popyrin, he did make the quarterfinals in Monte Carlo, but I don't think he'll be too much of a threat, to be totally honest. We could see an edgy second round matchup between Ben Shelton and Giovanni and Petri Petitcart. That'd be a rematch of the Basel final, which the big fella, the Frenchman, took. Now, I'm not that confident we'll see this match because the big fella is riding on a 4-match losing streak. Mariano Navone is a bit of a threat here as well, as the Argentinian is very solid on the clay, so possibly look for him to shake things up here. Rublev has had a few disappointing showings in his first two tournaments on the clay under his new coach Murat Safin, losing in the round of 16s to Arthur Fils and Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in Monte Carlo and Barcelona, respectively. I will bank on him to turn it around here. I think he'll just have the good juju from winning this title last year, so I'm going to have him making it at the section to make the quarterfinal. Next, Taylor Fritz, the American, is going to be playing his first event since the Miami Open, where he allegedly suffered a ab injury. Fritz has an interesting draw. Here also is Hubert Hurkacz, who will be playing his first match since Indian Wells. He suffered a lower back injury. Casper Ruud is here, and I'm really shocked to see him ranked so low. We've always been accustomed to seeing him being a firm figure in the top 10, so to see him seated 14th is quite jarring to me. This also might be Casper's least favorite clay tournament. He did make the semifinals just one time back in 2021. Korda, I think, would be a considerable threat to Casper Ruud, and I can definitely see him taking down the Norwegian if those two were to meet. Also, shout out to Coleman Wong. He's there, and he had that Miami Open third round run, beating Ben Shelton. I think that right now, Fritz, it might take him another tournament or two before he hits his stride, especially with this being his first tournament on the clay this year. I'm more leaning towards another American and Sebi Korda to come through here to make the quarterfinals. Next is Holger Rune's section. Of course, the Dane is hot off that Barcelona Open title where he beat Alcaraz in the final. He could have a tricky opening against Fabio Caboli, the Italian. Also, last year's runner-up, Felix Auger-Aliassime, is up top there. He's on course to play Daniil Medvedev in the third round. Medi, he made the quarterfinals here last year. He does fairly okay in Madrid, but I'm not sure of him kind of going that deep, to be totally honest. At this point right now, Rune is just the most reliable here and the most sensible pick. Although Holger, he could just get sick and lose to just about anybody, but I'm going to stick with the 8th seed Dane to come through. Now looking down, there's Jack Draper's section, and the Brit has a potential tricky second round match against Talon Greek Spore. Jack could also face Matteo Berrettini in the third round, which would be really interesting. Tommy Paul, he has a pretty tough little section himself. He is projected to play Karen Khachanov, who just Alcaraz made the Barcelona semifinals, but Tommy might play Joao Fonseca in the opening round, who will open himself against 21-year-old lefty Elmer Moeller. And Moeller, he's high on confidence himself, fresh off a Challenger 125 title in Aradis. I'm kind of feeling a little bit edgy, and I'm going to be picking the Russian Khachanov to come through this section and make the quarterfinals. Three-time Madrid champion Novak Djokovic is next to observe, and the Joker is going to be playing his first time here in the Caja Magica since 2022. He had a rough start to his clay season in Monte Carlo, falling in his opener to Alejandro Tabilo. He has a decent draw, though, I feel, in Madrid. Matteo Arnaldi, a decent player. Sebastian Baez is also solid, but I don't think either of those guys will trouble him too much. Also, shout out to Borna Coric. He qualified for here. He's also in the section, of course. Francis Tiafoe, I could see Darderi getting the best of him in that second round match. Ugo Humbert, I think, would be the biggest threat to Novak, but that Frenchman is just so shaky, and he's lost his last 4 or 5 matches, so Ugo is not high on confidence at the moment. Djokovic is my pick to come through here. Next, Aussie Alex de Minaur. He has done well lately. He made the semifinals of both Monte Carlo and Barcelona, but of course he's going to be looking to go further and make a final and get his hands on a big trophy again. I am particularly interested in this potential battle of the one-handers between Tsitsipas and Musetti. Those two did play in Monte Carlo in the quarterfinals, which Musetti took. Now, both those two guys have injury concerns heading into Spain, as Stefanos, he withdrew from or retired mid-match of his quarterfinal in Barcelona against Artefis due to his back. And Lorenzo, he struggled considerably with his groin in the Monte Carlo finals against Alcaraz. I think considering that and his recent form, de Minaur's recent form, I just got to go with Alex here to make it out this section. Last but not least, two-time champion Carlos Alcaraz's section is now to look at. And Carlos, he has a few question marks himself. He had that left leg injury he sustained from the Barcelona final. He said he feels fine physically and will wait for the test. So not too sure if we even see him out there if the tests don't come back in his favor. The biggest threats for Carlos are going to be the Czechs and Tomas Machac and Yuri Lehečka. Both those two guys have beaten him in the past like 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months or so. Lehečka enjoys the conditions here in Madrid for sure, as he made the semifinals last year. I am a bit worried of Alcaraz's physical health for one, and also I think the draw is a little bit tricky, especially if he's not 100%, and I think that he definitely needs to watch out for Lehečka if he faces him in the third round. But overall, I have Machac coming through. I know it might be a little bit of an edgy, bold pick, but why not Machac? Now, quickly brushing past these predictions because I'm not that really confident in it because the ATP is so unpredictable right now. I have in the semifinals Fils and Rune, followed by de Minaur and Djokovic. And then the final, I have Rune and Djokovic, with Novak taking the title to win his 100th crown. Why Novak? I think his draw is decent. That's one of the biggest things for sure. And I think he has a lot of opportunity with, of course, Sinner not being here, Alcaraz possibly not being 100%, and he has a great head-to-head record and vastly greater experience against a lot of people, a lot of the higher-ranked guys in this tournament. So yeah, why not Novak for that 100 title in Spain? That is all I have for this video. Let me know your predictions on Swiatek Eala and whether you disagree with me and you believe that Alex can go 2 for 2 and knock out Iga yet again. Also, give me your thoughts on Naomi if you think that she will be able to recover, and let me know your thoughts on my Madrid men's preview / predictions. Again, make sure you all subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more content from Madrid. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.